This week begins part one of our series, Walking in the Dark, the Beauty of Boundaries, where we use tips from psychology to become better investors. While math is certainly a part of being a successful investor, as you hear from us time and time again, so is the emotion of it. And with volatility ticking up, today is the GDP miss that's got people more concerned about a recession, coupled with some inflation data that's pushing even further out, likelihood of Fed rate cuts. Now is certainly a good time to refresh on how we can become a better investors by putting some boundaries into place. I went to the National Institute for Health and Social Care of the UK for 10 tips on how to deal with anxiety and uncertainty, the fear of the unknown, which is certainly not unfamiliar to investors, always wondering what might lie ahead. We all know, again, the fear of the unknowns, the beauty of boundaries. I mentioned walking in the dark. When the lights go off at my house, the kids are certainly afraid of what might lie between the bathroom and the bed. It's a fear I had mostly gotten away from myself until I had kids, and now I too have that fear of walking in the dark, mostly because of calico critters and Legos. But it's there. But if we know, hey, this is a safe spot, even the dark, even the unknown can be a place where we can move with a lot less anxiety, a lot less fear. So this week we're going to look at the 5 first aspects highlighted by that UK National Institute of Health and Social Care and analogize it again to our lives as investors. Point 1, feelings are real. We talk about this all the time. Let's just own the fact that being an investor is emotional. You've heard us talk about how the same part of your brain that gets triggered by mortal danger gets triggered by losing money. So that's the challenge. From where we're at today to where financial goals we have in the future, this is something we need to overcome, and you can't overcome it if you don't accept it. As part of that, feelings aren't necessarily facts. Hear time and time again, particularly during tough markets from people, yeah, but if this goes on forever. And I know it feels that way when they're in the middle of a tough market, but honestly, if we step back into our calmer selves, we know that things don't last forever. The market's rarely ever going to go to zero, right? A single stock might, but a diversified investor, that's not a fear historically based that you've got to carry. And so again, where is that feeling that'll never end and that fact that tells you, by all accounts it will, how do you make that transition? Second tip in dealing with the unknowns to, again, make better decisions is focusing on the short term. And what they're really talking about here is control the controllables. So what is controllable? Where should you put your focus during those periods of heightened anxiety and unknowns? Well, number 1 is a check into, are your current needs being met? This is why, again, we go through that LIVE framework over and over and over again. Have you addressed those liquidity safety buckets? Is your income too intact? I would argue that a short-term focus for investors would be, look where the crowd is. If everyone's fearful, that's probably a good time to maybe get a little bit more positive. If everyone's positive, as they were not too long ago, ensure that nothing could ever go wrong, that's probably a time to get a little bit defensive. But of course, our feelings do exactly the opposite. They want to panic at the bottom. They want to chase near the top. And so again, that's just a challenge we need to overcome. Point number 3 is acknowledge what's working. And really the point that they're trying to say here from the psychology perspective, but it relates certainly to investing, is not everything's bad. When the market's down, it's easy to just throw in the towel, to give up hope, to again presume things could never get better and whitewash everything, even the good stuff or what progress still is intact, wipe it away and focus on the negative. Coming back to, is your plan still on track? I can't tell you how many times we go through something, someone comes in and says, man, I just feel like all is lost. And then you walk them through the state of their portfolio, the state of their plan still being on track, showing them that the plan anticipated, because of course it should, that there were going to be tough times within the markets, and that their income stream is not only intact today, but has weathered many different bear markets along the way to again provide for their needs. It reduces the anxiety, which is what we're after. Point 4 is recognize your achievements. Perspective. I can't tell you how many times, again, over a 25 plus year career now, people have come in and be like, I can't afford to lose 1 penny. and then you remind them that they used to only have, let's say, 500 pennies, and now they have 1,000,000 pennies, even after a market pullback, that recognition of how much progress has been made, how much has still been accomplished, is easy to lose, especially for investors who usually like to take a high water mark and presume anything less than that high water mark could mean disaster for them. That's simply not true. So again, one of the things we love walking through with clients is remembering not only where we're at today, but again, how far we've come from where we started years prior. Point 5 is find a new rhythm. And really what they're talking about here is doing an honest reflection on what are our productive habits. We frequently hear from clients say, I used to wake up every morning and check in on my account. And usually this is the boys, gentlemen. And so my wife said, no more, stop it, we're gonna go for a walk. Perfect example of you take an unproductive habit and switch it into something productive. Going and grabbing a coffee with a friend. There's nothing about staring at that screen or staring at the news that's going to be able to change or enhance your ability to predict what's going to come down the road. Again, we need to control the controllables, but again, recognize, own those habits. We've all got them. Replace them with something again that can be more constructive. We can tell you firsthand, because we've done some anecdotal in-house surveys, those clients who are checking in most of the time with their portal tend to be the ones, understandably so, that have that anxiety. But we've watched so many of them as they come to better understand the plan, the portfolio strategy, lessen that, and noted the uptick in, again, just their satisfaction with life, lowering of those anxiety and stress levels, which is ultimately what we're after for you here at 10 Capital, along with financial success over time. Again, investing is an emotional battle. It's nothing to be ashamed of or ignored, but emotional-based investing rarely leads to success. Again, remember, markets, like you, are far more resilient than we often give them credit for.